couple of days ago, I was on a live stream on Nerded's channel. It was me, her, Saggy, and Liana K. Tristan uses Restream, which adds the stream to everyone's channel, but since I don't live stream, I forgot that the chat was enabled, so no one was monitoring it, and all the right-wingers who are pissy that I won't ejaculate in their asses decided to brigade the chat. I have a pretty good idea whose crowd this was, and I just want to say, if you're trying to prove you're not a bunch of bigots, spelling out nigger doesn't really help your argument. I mean, I already knew what you were about, which is why I know exactly what to say to set your little bitch asses off. But if this is the best you can do,
not impressed.
So once I realized my chat was the one causing the problem, I disabled the chat. I deleted the video after the stream because Tristan uses music at the beginning of her videos, and every time YouTube blocks my copy of the stream because of the licensed music. However, as I was rummaging around the back end, I noticed that there were some super chats. I assume these were left on my channel. I would have refunded them, but YouTube doesn't let you do that, or I couldn't figure out how to do it, so I figured I'd just respond to them instead. Should be interesting. First up, Robert Wiles, $4.99 US. You have a blessed soul, you just some guy. Have a blessed day and a blessed life doing what you love, and thanks for all the support on Adam's channel. Not sure who Adam is, but are you being serious or are you telling me in that nice southern way to go fuck myself? I can't tell, so I'm going to assume it's the latter because it's more fun that way. Ace 1918 for $5. For JSG, thoughts on Star Wars The High Republic comics making the Jedi more evil than the Sith to the point that they endanger planets just to train? No, I don't read Disney Star Wars. I'm not involving myself with any of that mess until the people running current Lucasfilms are gone. I'm not touching it, just like I'm not going anywhere near current Star Trek. I've seen a couple of clips. I watched Red Letter Media's review of Picard. That's enough. I'm saving all my energy for Amazon's Rings of Go Fuck Yourself. I'm not getting into anything else. I'm almost 40. I can't even. Weston Howler for $5. As a Christian Republican, I agree with you guys. The horseshoe theory is real and people need to calm down. I think the horseshoe theory, the idea that the far right and the far left are more alike than they are different, is partially right. The two sides are similar in their results, but how they get there is different, and their ability to rile up people varies. I do agree that people need to calm down, but that's not going to happen because one side thinks they can do no wrong, and the other side believes they've never done anything wrong. So there's no compromise to be had because these people don't like each other and won't talk to each other. They just want control, and there can only be one master. Steven Steele for $4. Thanks for a super chat. Zero something foreign for 50 Romanian leu, I believe it is. The question is, why does JSG interpret a single article as outrage? I'm not exactly sure what this refers to. I assume you're talking about the Bleeding Pool article about the X-Men comic. If that's the case, you might remember that I said that I saw this making the rounds. So this wasn't one person who wrote one article. There was a narrative going on, and because it kept coming up, even though the book had been out for weeks, I figured I'd talk about it because I think it's silly for people who bitch about the left being oversensitive babies to suddenly start whining themselves. Zero back again with another 25. Liana, you think the parents being called terrorists when talking to school boards are all Republican? This was directed at Liana, but I'll respond to it. My guess is that the people who call those parents terrorists probably think most of the people complaining to school boards vote Republican, and they're probably right. Complaining to school boards en masse is something usually done by the right, and when the left does do it, it's usually about some social issue like racism or homophobia, or stopping religious nuts from taking over public schools. I'm sure there's some left-leaning parents in that group, but chances are most of the people are right-leaning. Just Joe HD for $1. Thanks for the super chat, and nice try. I grew up in the 90s. I know to read before I say the name. Western Howler for $5. Why are you assuming the school is safer than the home? Who said the schools are safer than the home? The argument was that sometimes school is a safer place for kids because some kids come from abusive homes, and some parents are shitty parents. It's interesting that the people complaining about parental rights never seem to acknowledge that some parents aren't good parents, so you might want to have schools where the kids can go and be safe and hopefully report any abuse to someone they trust, like a teacher, who, having been personable with their students, has gained the kids' confidence. Instead, they think the teachers are the threat, which is ironic because 5 seconds ago they wanted to arm those teachers so that they could kill school shooters to protect the other students who the right claimed were like the teachers' own kids. I think it's a bad idea to make teachers the adversaries of your political crusade against the left because there are going to be times when it will be a teacher who saves a kid from an abusive situation, and you making teachers the pariahs will mean that they'll never be there for that kid, and something that could have been stopped continues. There's a reason why teachers are mandated reporters, because all parents aren't the saints that the right seem to think they are. I'm not saying that to try to change anyone's mind. I'm just saying that there are consequences to your actions, and they ironically lead to the very thing the right claims they want to prevent. Kiki hideout for 20 Mexican pesos. Reactionaries don't get that JSG simps for no one. Yeah, I have to ask, did they forget whose channel they're watching? I've been very clear about my political views, and I've been criticizing what's effectively my own side for their kooky politics, even as they insult me for doing it. What did you think I was doing? Did you think I was siding with the right because we both don't like identity politics? Just because we're walking in the same direction doesn't mean we have the same destination. Just because I criticize the progressives doesn't mean I agree with your conservative worldview. I'm not going to go along with you while you're calling gay people pedophiles. I don't know what you watched that gave you the impression I'd be cool with that bigoted bullshit, but you are wrong. My name ain't Dave Rubin, and I'm not one of these YouTube grifters stumbling through a 15-minute video about how Oreos are bad because Nabisco won't hate the gays. I'm not beholden to you. I don't have to follow your right-wing politics, and I damn sure won't hate the gays for clicks and views. I am not on your side, and I never will be. You can call me whatever you want. I will never side with you. You can go and get Doctor Strange, and he can check every version of the multiverse. In no reality will I side with you. Ever. It'll be just like in The Matrix, with you sitting there like the architect saying, the door to your right leads to the people with the better ideas and better values, and the door to the left leads to your precious queers. And just like Neo, every screen, all the same, to the left. I will never choose you. But I will talk about you, because there's a lot to talk about. And if that's too much for you, if you can't stand that I'll turn my critical eye on you, that I won't let you make up my mind for me, or repeat your talking points, or watch my words when I talk about the right, if that makes you want to leave, well, you are free to go. And just like Neo said,
if I were you, I would hope that we don't meet again.
Moving on, Massive Panda for $5. Broke as hell these days, but I've never had the opportunity to super chat JSG. Here's my 5, good sir. Love your content. Thanks for the $5. Now I can buy Nathan a tank of gas. Messiah Complex for $5. With the conviction about what's right for other people's kids, would homeschooling help? If someone's so close-minded that they don't want their kid to be around people who don't think exactly like them, probably because their worldview wouldn't stand up to the scrutiny of a 7-year-old, sure, homeschool your kids. It's interesting, though, that 10 years ago, at the height of the Christian right trying to force creationism into school curriculums, there wasn't this massive push from atheist parents to homeschool their kids. And the Christian right actively and admittedly tries to indoctrinate other people's kids into their 2,000-year-old woo. If you want to homeschool your kids, that's fine. You are more than welcome to do so, but I got news for you. Whatever it is you don't want them to learn, they're eventually gonna learn it, and not from you. Opinionated Junkie for $2. Read the bill for fuck's sake. I see someone got their NPC update. I know all of you think this is such a clever line, or at least that was what you were told by the person thinking for you. And it would be clever if I hadn't quoted the bill multiple times back in February. But I have a technical question. If people didn't read the bill, why are they arguing about the language of the bill? Why are they asking what encouraged discussion and instruction mean? Why are they asking who gets to define what age appropriate means? Why are they saying that those terms aren't defined in the bill? Why do all the articles link to the bill and quote it directly? Why are people pointing out that nowhere do the words indoctrination, sex, sexual activity, or grooming appear in the bill, nor are they even implied? Wouldn't that suggest that people read the bill? Here's a thought, and I'm sure for some of you it'll be your first. Just because someone disagrees with you doesn't mean they didn't read the bill. It just means they disagree with you. And that's likely because they did do their research. Which is why they would know that Representative Harding and Senator Baxley, the two dipshits who sponsored the bill, have a history of anti-gay sentiments, with Baxley having a nearly 20-year record of supporting and proposing anti-gay legislation, from blocking gay people from being foster parents, to blocking gay people from adopting kids, to blocking gay marriage. He once compared being raised by two moms with being raised by drug addicts. He even admitted on the Senate floor that this bill has nothing to do with protecting kids and was really about stopping more kids from coming out as gay and trans.
My son's a psychiatrist, and I said, why is everybody now all about coming out when you're in school? And there really is a dynamic of concern of how much of this are genuine type of experiences and how many of them are just kids trying on different kinds of things they hear about and different kinds of identities and experimenting. That's what kids do, you know. Maybe they're in this club or they're in that club or they're on to this. And they're trying on all these different identities of life, trying to see where they fit in. And I said, am I crazy or what? All of a sudden, we're having all these issues come up about this topic of their sexuality and gender. And I said, I don't understand why that's such a big wave right now. And he said, Dad, all the professionals don't agree, but in fact, it's a real trend of change. I just read an article this week. We're trying to all figure out why this is happening. Some of it is, I'm sure, cultural shift of what's accepted and that kind of thing. But I know some of it is just the confusion that kids go. You know, particularly when you get to middle school and high school, there's a lot of whitewater. You don't get it right. You just get them through it. It's a maturation of them growing. And things are happening for them. So my question is simply, are we encouraging this or illuminating it by putting emphasis on it, or are we helping something? And I think 75% of people that I see, polled on this bill, they agree with me that there's something wrong with how we're emphasizing this, and that all of a sudden, overnight, they're a celebrity when they felt like they were nobody. And so I don't know how all those parts play, but I know parents are very concerned about the departure from the core belief systems and values.
Look, I get it. You were so busy trying to be clever that you walked right into stupid. You were trying to use the left's own words, sexual orientation and gender identity, against them, but you didn't pay attention to how the words are used. Do people use sexual orientation to specifically talk about heterosexuality? Or do they use it to talk about other sexualities, like homosexuality, bisexuality, asexuality, or whatever the other Baskin-Robbins of sexualities are? They're not using it to talk about what is the norm. They're using it to talk about what isn't the norm. That's how the term has been used and understood for the last 30 years. The same goes for gender identity. It's typically used to talk about people who are transgender, or androgynous, or gender fluid, or non-binary, or intersex, not, what is it the woke calls them? Heteronormative cisgender people. That doesn't mean they're not included in the terms. Technically they are, just like technically people of color includes white people, since white is a color too. But that's not the common usage of the term. This is why your little attempt to use the left's own terms against them backfired when they took your poorly written legalese about prohibiting school districts from encouraging discussion about sexual orientation and gender identity and translated it into basic English. Schools are banned from allowing anyone to talk about being gay or trans, or simply put, don't say gay. Thankfully, the Wakandans didn't get in the way and fuck this up, because I haven't seen a more perfect phrase since Black Lives Matter. The only way to defeat the argument is to concede the point. All the right had to do was say that you don't have a problem with anyone saying gay, that you don't have a problem with kids knowing that gay people exist, that you don't want to stop some kid from talking about his two moms or two dads, that you don't want to stop gay teachers from acknowledging they're married, that you're not trying to stop gay kids from coming out, that you're not trying to attack the gay and trans community, but to stop woke ideologues from indoctrinating children about explicit sex acts. Except, that's not true. You don't want anyone to say gay. Not just to kids, but at all. You don't want them coming out. You don't want them around kids. You don't even want them to exist. So instead of ending the debate by conceding the point, you decided to insult, calling everyone who didn't agree with the bill groomers, in other words, pedophiles. And that quickly went from anyone who opposes the bill as a groomer, to anyone who's gay who opposes the bill as a groomer, to anyone who supports the gays as a groomer, to the gays are groomers because they're gay. And now you have Marjorie Taylor Greene calling her fellow Republicans pro-pedo because they voted for a Supreme Court justice she doesn't like. I understand that in your little right-wing bubble you think you're winning. However, in the real world, you just destroyed any chance you have of winning over anyone to the left of Little Miss Klan Mom. No one with a functioning brain is going to side with you when you're calling gay people pedos. So, when Disney wouldn't side with you and instead pretended to support the alphabet people, you decided to try to force Disney to adhere to your political views by threatening their privileged status in Florida, a thing you shouldn't support anyway, since conservatives are supposed to be opposed to governments favoring businesses. And you do this as you publicly accuse gay people of being pedophiles, so now Disney has to make the oh-so-hard choice of whether to side with the GLBT people or the people calling them groomers. So, of course, Disney doesn't bend the knee because they're not going to destroy their brand by siding with the anti-gay crowd. So you decide to accuse them of being pro-pedo as you oddly continue to demand that they still side with you. putting Disney in the even harder position of having to choose between siding with the gay and trans people or the people accusing their company and employees of being pedophiles because they won't hate the gays. Decisions, decisions. And on top of all of that, you still haven't explained the harm caused by telling the kid gay and trans people exist. You keep saying that you want to let kids be kids and don't want anyone to talk about sex with them, but you're the only ones jumping to the conclusion that to explain that gay people exist, someone has to talk about explicit sex acts, not just say, some boys like boys and some girls like girls. At this point, isn't it just easier to admit you're projecting? That when you hear that a person's gay, you think about how they have sex, so you assume everyone else must think the same thing too. No, that's just you. You're the only ones who hear the word gay and seem to immediately think about sex with kids. So now you're mad that people are calling you bigots, but remember, you did this to yourselves. You fucked you. Don't invert stuff. Nobody made you call gay people groomers. You did that all on your own and then quadrupled down on it like you're trying to beat the gay out of some kid you saw on the libs of TikTok. Now you've ruined any chance you had of bridging the divide between the right and the left because no one with a functioning brain is going to side with you when you're calling them pedophiles. Moving on, Tom for $1.99. JSG belongs on a cross. Sorry, but I'm not the cult leader type. You're looking for the grifters. You might want to look further to the right. And mind the whiskey bottles. Professor X Parrot for $4.99. It's such a personal issue for most people. Conflating teachers helping kids be themselves with some gay conspiracy lacks perspective and compassion. I don't think it's about being personal. I think it's about being ideological. We have more than enough evidence to show that gay people are not some ever-present threat to kids. You're not going to find any credible research suggesting, let alone confirming, that gay or trans people are as likely or more likely to abuse kids. It's complete bullshit. But for a significant chunk of the country, the truth doesn't matter. They believe gays are coming for their kids, and for them, that's evidence enough, and nothing anyone says or shows them will ever change their mind. Now, if you want to try, you're welcome to do so. I'm not that nigga. I'm not Daryl Davis. I'm not going to sit with a bunch of people spouting bigoted bullshit in the hopes that I can raise enough doubt in their minds that maybe 2 years down the line they'll become a better person. I'd rather help the people whose lives they're trying to ruin, to help them realize that they're worth more than they're being told by the right, and to hopefully keep them from attempting or succeeding in doing something they can't undo. I wish more people felt that way and acted that way, but they don't. Certainly not on the other side of the political aisle. And this is always the risk you take when you tell edgy jokes or talk about touchy subjects. You always run the risk of enabling or empowering the people who aren't joking. I always knew that was the case, which is one of the reasons I mentioned my political views. I don't think that means that anyone should stop criticizing the woke left for their identity politics bullshit. You just have to keep in mind that a number of the people you're going to attract don't hate the ideology, they hate the people. They actually do hate minorities and women and gays, and you need to be able to recognize those people when you see them and be willing to call them out when you do. You need to be able to recognize bigotry when it's in your face and not fall for propaganda because someone said what you want to hear. If you're not willing to call out your own side when they get out of line, it says a lot about your character. Do you have the courage of your convictions, or are you a coward looking to grift? If you've ever seen that picture of everyone with their hands up and that one guy with his hand down and wondered which one you'd be, I got news for you. If you're calling people groomers, it's not the one you think. But what do I know? I'm just some guy.